Hello and welcome back to another review and recap for Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans this week for episode 4, and boy do I have some comments and criticisms about this week's episode. But yeah, we're gonna wait until we get to that specific moment because I feel like I'm gonna get a little bit off my chest. So for now, let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Q being blindsided at Tribal Council. The only other person that was blindsided more than Q was Stephanie, who, coming back to the Vatu camp, is just happy to still be in the game. But she is worried that if they go to another tribal council, will she be the one targeted as the sitting duck, as she was the only other person left out of the vote. Now, Ozzy reassures her that she has nothing to worry about, that if they were to go back to tribal council, Angelina would be the target. The next day, we check in with Kalo, where Aubrey is looking for another Billie Eilish boomerang idol. Aubrey doesn't like the position she's in on her tribe, so she feels the need to have to go and search for another advantage, another idol. Also, she's in a possession of an idol for herself, so she feels calm and cool enough that she can go look on her own for as long as she wants. Someone who wants to keep a close eye on Aubrey is Genevieve. And after noticing that Aubrey has been away from the camp for quite a while, goes out and starts calling out for her, looking for her. But after Aubrey was going off searching, Genevieve wants to do a little bit of searching for herself, and boom, she finds another Billie Eilish boomerang idol. This time she's telling nobody about this one, and she's gonna send it over to the Sela camp to give to Rizzo. Now Rizzo feels a lot more confident and very excited because of past experiences with hidden immunity idols, but also he is the lone OG Vatu member on his tribe, and he feels like his social game is helping him gain some ground with everybody, but now that he has an idol, he feels so much better. Now also in this episode, Rizzo didn't just receive an idol, he also received first place in the Sela talent show, doing his impression of Mickey Mouse. Someone who was play acting that they were angry, but was also just angry altogether, is Charlie, who is very competitive, wants to win even if it's for a low stakes talent show on Survivor, but he also doesn't like to lose at anything, especially to who he deems his mortal enemy, Rizzo. This is where we see this rivalry, this feud, and I should say this one-sided rivalry and one-sided feud with Charlie to Rizzo really start to boil up in the confessionals, where he is just really fuming and he wants Rizzo out of this game. It feels like Charlie wants Rizzo out of the game more than he wants to win the game at this point. But we're gonna put a pin in that as everybody heads down to meet up with Jeff for this week's reward/immunity challenge. Now, while watching this episode, I noticed that only 15 minutes have passed. If this was just the reward challenge, I wouldn't think anything of it. I would think, okay, there's another challenge happening later on in this episode. It'll soak up some of the game time, get some strategy talk in, but getting to the reward/immunity challenge 15 minutes into a 90-minute long episode, I was thinking, what are they gonna pull? We first get to the instructions to the immunity/reward challenge, where all teams will start on this floating platform. They're gonna have to jump into the water, get to an archway platform where everybody has to get up there. They have to untie 2 buckets, jump back into the water, use the buckets to unsink a ship, get the ship onto shore, get it onto a track, pile in some letter blocks into it, push it all the way to the puzzle station, and then use the letter blocks to solve an archway puzzle. The first 2 teams to solve the puzzle will win immunity, but the first place team will be the only team to win the reward. The reward is going to a place called the Sanctuary to eat a ton of food and also hang out with Survivor superfan Zac Brown from the Zac Brown Band. Now you can see on some of the contestants' faces that some people are very excited about this. Dee and some of the other contestants who aren't country music fans are more excited about the food aspect rather than hearing him sing a couple of songs. But the stage is set as Suri and Genevieve are the 2 sit-outs, and everybody gets ready, everybody gets set, and they are off. I think that this is an interesting challenge, and it totally leans into the physically strong category, where a team that has, say, Jonathan is gonna come in with a big advantage, whereas a team like Vatu, who just voted off Q, one of their strongest competitors, is going to have to play to their A game or hope for another team to stumble immensely to get into the top 2 or even sniff the first place reward and immunity win. As Sela and Kalo are able to work on both buckets at the same time, while Vatu is only working on one bucket at a time. It looks like Christian and Ozzy are lifting up Stephanie to untie the one bucket, and everybody else is just standing around and just waiting for Stephanie to then do the next one. Kalo and Sela make quick work of unsinking their boats, especially Jonathan, who lifts it up by himself. Both Sela and Kalo are working like well-oiled machines. They get their boats out of the water, fill up their boats with their letters, get it on the track, and push it quite easily down the track. And speaking of the track, this is where Vatu just completely loses it. They're able to get their boat out of the water, luckily get it onto the track, but once they fill it up with those letters, it just becomes too heavy, as well as the boat gets stuck on something. So Vatu was doomed to get third place and heading back to Tribal Council, whereas this was a 2-team race of it being neck and neck. Camilla and Chrissy are so impressive in finding out what these puzzles look like or what the word is, because Camilla knows that it is celebration. Chrissy knows almost instantly that it too is celebration. Now it is just which team works more efficiently. We have some stumbles on both sides. When it comes down to it, Kalo is able to get first place, win immunity, win reward, as Sela gets second place and gets immunity. Now, even though nobody is going home on the Sela tribe, the mood and vibes are completely down, as Jonathan and Dee really wanted to hang out with Zac Brown. Dee mentions in the confessional how his music has gotten her through a lot of tough moments in her life, and she has grown up on his music, that it would have been incredible to have that once-in-a-lifetime moment of being able to hang out in that environment on Survivor with someone that she loves and truly respects. But it just wasn't in the cards, you know? Now, speaking of Zac Brown, we go over to the sanctuary where Kalo shows up. There's a card left there by Zac saying that, make yourselves at home, I'll be back with lunch soon. They're eating chips. They're getting some drinks. We then go over to see Zac Brown getting ready to do some spearfishing for some tuna. Now, coming into the episode, I did see the sneak peek that Zac Brown was going to be on this week's episode. And I thought this would be like a normal Survivor reward thing where possibly, maybe it would be like 5 minutes, maybe a montage, you know? I'm expecting Survivor to show more of contestants, show more of the gameplay, because this is season 50 in the hands of the fans. The fans want to see the players play the game. Now, I know that we're only 4 episodes in, but there's a lot of contestants that aren't getting a lot of screen time. And that's just with the normal 90-minute layout. But at this point in the episode, there's so much time left, and all I could think about was, we're gonna spend a ton of time with Zac Brown. I mean, when we're at this reward, we're getting this like long, self-indulgent Zac's backstory with Survivor and why he likes spearfishing and what does it take to be a spearfisher. I thought my TV had changed to the Discovery Channel. I thought I was watching Survivor. Why am I watching this country singer doing like Bear Grylls, Jacques Cousteau type of stuff? Now, I will say that the spearfishing was kind of interesting to see, but then we get to him bringing the fish in, cleaning it up, cutting it up, grilling it up, talking to all the contestants, and then we have to sit through 2 full songs and then confessionals about the songs from all the contestants. I'm like, can we get to the gameplay, man? Survivor this season is feeling like that one friend who is like name dropping celebrities or actors that they saw while on vacation. Oh, we got the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. We gotta name all the idols after her. Oh, we need a 15-minute segment of Zac Brown fishing and getting to hear his backstory of why he likes Survivor. I don't care. I think it's cool that they want to be involved with the show. Let them be involved with the show. But this just felt overcompensating with like saying that we know celebrities watch our show. Look at the celebrities who are watching our show. And I know this isn't going to be the last time, as We hear that Jimmy Fallon is going to have some advantage coming into the game, as well as Mr. Beast will also be involved with the show at some point. And after seeing how long Zac Brown was in this episode, I worry about what's going to happen with Mr. Beast. Is he just going to host the entire episode and Jeff is going to be able to take some time off? I don't know. I just feel like this was ridiculous. I just wanted to get back to the gameplay. I wanted to see the players play the game, as well as I just felt like this took all the momentum out of the episode. Luckily, when we get back on track with about 30 minutes left in the episode, we go over to the Vatu camp where they're now having to figure out what is the next move. Well, we all know what Ozzy wants to do. Ozzy, Emily, Stephanie all seem to be on the same page of wanting to vote out Angelina. Ozzy tells Christian and Mike. Mike then goes into Operation Save Angelina. She is pretty much the only person he can trust 100% out here in the game. So he is trying to do whatever it takes to save Angelina. So Mike puts a plan together to go and talk to Stephanie and says that we should vote out Emily, which I will say isn't the worst move. I mean, she does seem very overreactive as well as panics quite easily, and she's got some loose lips as she showed with telling everybody right away without a second thought that Christian gave Aubrey an idol, as well as later on in this episode where she is freaking out being like, we need to vote Mike to Ozzy, and Ozzy is like, what are we talking about? Angelina is the target and nothing is going to stop that. Well, I kind of jumped ahead. Mike tells Stephanie that they should vote out Emily. Then Mike goes over to Angelina and Christian saying that we need to flip the vote on Emily. Stephanie seems like she's in. Us four can just vote for Emily, keep Ozzy out in the dark, and I'll talk to him later on and everything will get smoothed over. This leaves Christian in a very tough position between a rock and a hard place because the options are taking out Angelina, who he knows from a prior season, but also Emily, who he's been working with since day one. Christian doesn't like either options, and so as he's talking with Mike, he's telling Mike that this is a really tough decision for him, and Mike is like, your head is clouded. You know what this whole you and Emily remind me of? It reminds me of you and Gabby from David versus Goliath, which kind of cut Christian to the core. Christian is normally calm, cool, and collected and is able to say his thoughts with 100% fact, but he breaks down in this moment upon the mention of Gabby, and he even says in his confessional that this is the first time he's really ever cried about this. And I think it's not reminiscing about the whole Gabby betrayal. I think this is more about the Mike betrayal, that Mike is using this against Christian to kind of push him into the way he wants him to vote. That sends red alarms in Christian's mind and is like, maybe we should take out Mike if he's going to be playing this kind of game. So Christian goes to Stephanie and says, we should flip the vote on Mike. Stephanie, who was once worried about her positioning in the game, is now a key vote in whatever everybody wants to do. Stephanie seems to be cool with going with Mike. Now they need to get Emily on board. And this is when Christian tells Emily that Mike is coming after her. This is where Emily is freaking out because now her game is on the line. She now has to trust in Stephanie, who they just blindsided her best ally out of the game last tribal council. So how can we know we can trust Stephanie? So now Emily's like, well, what if we get Ozzy involved? Ozzy will help keep me around. And Christian's like, we can't tell Ozzy. Ozzy wants to work with Mike, as well as he is so focused on Angelina. This is where Ozzy comes back to camp and Emily's like, come here. Mike is flipping the vote on me. And Christian, he's like, look, it's still Angelina. Stop freaking out. And when Ozzy sits down, Christian gets behind Ozzy and is like, I love Christian's personality, and he is just telling Emily, stop freaking out. We got this on lock. Calm down. Trust somebody. This is where I feel like Emily has a real struggle in trusting people. And I get it, you know? It's Survivor. You can't trust anybody 100%, but you have to give some leeway, some leash to the people you are in alliances with. You can't just be this 0% trust on everybody at all times. You have to show people that I feel like I can trust you. You can't be naive and just put your head in the sand and be like, I'm going to trust everybody 100%, but you got to give at least something, 50% trust, 60% trust at some point, or you're not going to make it far into this game because people will deem you erratic as well as untrustworthy if you're just spilling the beans to anybody and anybody who is going to be walking your way. But we're going to put a pin in that as everybody goes down to Tribal Council. It's quite interesting as they're answering comments and questions from Jeff, but we finally get down to the vote. Nobody uses an idol, nobody uses their shot in the dark, and we get to the votes. We got 1 vote for Angelina off the top, which is Ozzy, 2 votes for Emily, who was Mike and Angelina, and we get 3 votes for Mike. Mike is blindsided. He seems more excited than ever. Like, if I had to go out, luckily it was a blindside. Angelina now was completely blindsided. Ozzy is mad. Like, big mad. But honestly, it was for his own good, as he would have tried to flip it. He would have tried to persuade everybody to go in a different route. We're just gonna have to see how that's all gonna play out. Now, I will say that this episode really dragged at one point for me. As you can tell from some of the comments I made in this review and recap, I was worried that this episode was gonna be so bland that we're gonna see Angelina just unanimously voted out. But honestly, Christian comes through yet again with such a great blindside. I had no idea that Mike White was going to be the one voted out this week, and it was such a great strategy from the Vatu tribe, really ending this episode on a high note for me. I thought that this week's episode was meh overall, but the last 30 minutes was awesome. And the preview to next week's episode looks even better because now there's a double elimination, and it looks like things are going to get so spicy, and we're going to get a tribe of players who mostly have not seen Tribal Council before go to Tribal Council, and I'm looking forward to seeing another team's dynamics when faced with adversity, when faced with having to vote somebody off. But that is it for this week's review and recap on Survivor 50 Episode 4. What'd you think about this episode? Please let me know down in the comment section below. What'd you think about this week's reward/immunity challenge? What'd you think about this week's reward? And what'd you think about the long segment of Zac Brown playing 2 songs, going spearfishing, hanging out with everybody? Did you think that was cool? Do you think that was cringe? What do you think about all the celebrity stuff in the show so far? Let me know down in the comment section below. And what do you think about Mike White being voted off? Did you think it was a good move? Do you think it was a bad move on Christian's end? Were you surprised that he was the target? And what do you think will happen heading into next week with Ozzy being mad and a double elimination? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I now want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you so much for watching up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Survivor content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.